Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Foundations.
Paul repeated what Jesus said. You were called to be free, brothers, only don't use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. For the whole of the law is fulfilled in one word. You shall love your neighbour as yourself.
Foundations. Understanding the Jewish foundations of our Christian faith. With Robbo Robinson and Mandy Warby.
Welcome back to Foundations. We're continuing our study of Shema, and in some respects I typically would say that we're getting to where the rubber meets the road, Mandy.
Yes.
But I've realised over the last few days that the rubber's already hit the road, because I mean it's been really dealing with it, with ourselves, with our soul,
yes,
and our mind and our heart. But we are going to be talking today about the part of Shema which is loving our neighbour as ourselves. Now, this is obviously found in both the Old and the New Testament.
Yes, it is.
But Jesus wasn't the only person to teach about this, was he?
No, he wasn't. Actually, Paul re-emphasised this. The Apostle Peter did. It's an overriding theme, actually, throughout the whole of the New Covenant scriptures. But yes, in the Old Covenant as well. And you see that actually God would get so cranky with his people when they stopped loving him, because the outworking of that was that they started ripping each other off and treating the vulnerable really badly.
Yeah.
And you're right when you said, we think we're just getting to the rubber, that the rubber hits the road now, but no, it hit the road on day one, really, because the truth is, we often use the 10 Commandments. And we say, don't have any other gods before me, love the Lord your God. And, and if you love God supremely, if you absolutely put him first, if you obey him, you won't commit adultery, you won't steal from your neighbour, you won't kill him, you won't tell lies, you won't covet, you won't be disrespectful to your parents, you won't do any of those things if you already love God supremely. And so if we already are obeying Shema and loving God supremely with all of our inner life, we can't really help but love our neighbour as ourselves. You remember we were saying the other day that's you obey, then you get the consequence, and then the emotion comes. This is the outworking of it. You love your neighbour as yourself. So you're absolutely right. We tend to think that the most important bit is to love your neighbour as yourself, but if you do not love God supremely, you will not love your neighbour. Okay, so I want to tell you a story, because oftentimes our love is very conditional, and we can be, let's just say, thoughtless is the word I'm going to use. Whether it's intentionally or not, we can be thoughtless towards other people. And that does not demonstrate loving your neighbour as yourself. So I want to tell you a story of Al. It's Al's story. Al hit rock bottom when he was 22 years old. He wrote a letter to his sister whinging about the day that he was born, saying that he was nothing but a burden to his family. As a young child, he was deemed to be retarded and taken out of school several times, and even the family maid had nicknamed him the dopey one.
Oh, wow.
He eventually did finish school, but he couldn't get into a tech school, and there was no chance of him getting into college. He needed to work, but nobody would hire him. Finally, his dad's friend, his name was Fred Haller, gave Al a probationary job at his office, and it was the Swiss Federal Patent Office, and that's where Fred realised that Al actually wasn't useless, and he wasn't clueless, as everybody thought he was. Al was actually a very good worker. He just thought and he learned differently, and he went on to guide lesser minds through the intricacies of time and space. Al became so inspired by his first ever success at anything that he eventually lived up to being the genius that was inside him all along. He was Albert Einstein.
Oh, wow.
That's his story. And yet he was treated and discarded and considered useless and thoughtless and even name-called by the maid.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. And so we have to be very careful about how we treat people. I love hearing stories like that because you realise these people are absolutely magnificent geniuses.
If only I could be as dopey as Albert Einstein.
Yeah, let me be a dope like Al.
Wow.
And so, we can be inspired and take courage from that, but it's also a warning. Don't treat people flippantly like that. Okay, so we've covered Shema and we've looked at all those different elements so far about hearing, about obeying, that God is one, we're to love him with all heart and mind and strength, soul and strength. But now we're going to look at loving our neighbour. Paul repeated what Jesus said in Galatians 5:13-14. He said, "You were called to be free, brothers, only don't use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another, for the whole of the law is fulfilled in one word: you shall love your neighbour as yourself." And again, this is going back to an old rabbinical tradition of trying to boil down the whole of God's law into a summary statement. That was something they did hundreds of years before Jesus came on the scene. If you could boil the whole of the law down, all of God's law, what is it? You love God, you love your neighbour as yourself. In 1 Peter 4:7-8, it says, Peter said, "At the end of all things is at hand, therefore be self-controlled and sober-minded for the sake of your prayers. Above all, keep loving one another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins." So there the command again is to love. Okay, so, and he says, above all. Okay, so Peter's taught, be obedient, keep watch, be self-controlled. He said be sober-minded, so be serious about your faith. But above all, love your brothers and sisters in the faith over everything else. Okay, then the Apostle John, he also said in 1 John 3, actually, I found that the epistles of 1 John are so convicting because of there's so much that he puts in there about how we're supposed to love one another. And I just kind of come away shaking my head thinking, I am such a failure. 1 John 3:10-11 says, "By this it's evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever doesn't practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who doesn't love his brother. For this is the message that you've heard from the beginning, that you should love one another." Now, John is in particular talking about Christians there.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't be loving our own families. I'm not saying that. But this is specifically talking about the body of Christ.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the starting point, isn't it? You start there and it flows out. And I think that in our, once again, our Western worldview, our Western mindset, we're very individualistic, and we can go to church and sort of think of ourselves rather than thinking of it as a body. We're the body of Christ.
That is actually a real sticking point, because to the Jewish mind, it's us and we. It's not I and me. And we will actually get into that a little bit more in detail, but that is a sticking point. To the Jewish mind, we are a collective, we are a group, we are a remnant, we are a body and a community, and we're supposed to be in this together. But it's very much this Western view that we have, that it's about me. And again, we'll focus on that, but just take a look at some of the songs in our churches that we sing. They tend to focus all about me.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So yes, we are saved individually. Yes, we are. We are adopted into God's family as individual children. But we're supposed to be part of the whole. We're supposed to serve him together. And if the body spends its time fighting itself, then we're going to be limping around. We're not going to be able to function. We can't walk on one leg.
Yeah.
We can't see properly if we're missing eyes and, we've ripped limbs off because we're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
And because we're focused on ourselves, we're putting ourselves first all the time. That's not loving your neighbour as yourself. It's all supposed to be about doing unto others, which is, we call it the golden rule. And again, we will look at that later, about putting others first, treating them the way we would like them to treat us. But first of all, we have to get it into our understanding that we are not a single individual part of a body. We're unified. And the first church actually placed a great deal of emphasis on that community, on being together. They met in the temple, they ate together, they fellowshiped together. And it was a few centuries in that the official church became extremely greedy for wealth and money and possessions and property, and then isolating itself through monastic disciplines and the rest of it. That wasn't actually what we were called to do. And that's not one denomination. All denominations have done this to varying degrees, so we're all guilty of it. But the point and the drive is supposed to be a unified body so that we can stand collectively.
It is a challenge for every one of us, and we're going to continue to explore this some more tomorrow, loving your neighbour as yourself, as we continue looking at the Shema as a part of Foundations.
This has been Foundations, a look at the Jewish foundations of our Christian faith. For study notes, resources and more, see vision.org.au/foundations.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.